How big do you think that could be?
Well, I think that there is a very high probability, I'm going to say maybe even 50%, that Ethereum's network value will flip Bitcoin's.
Wow.
Like when?
The flippening.
Maybe in a couple years.
People have been saying this for a long time.
Yeah.
How much bigger is Bitcoin now? Is it
It's 2.2 trillion right now.
And ETH is what, 400 billion?
Yeah.
All right.
But you're not an ETH maxi. You think
I'm not. I'm still a Bitcoin bull.
both.
I think Bitcoin's going to 1 million, but I'm saying like Ethereum's relative size, the ratio will actually be 1-to-1.
Tom Lee dives into market resilience and reveals who truly owns crypto. Exciting insights ahead. Let's watch to uncover more.
We know crypto is a generational divide because if you did the survey with someone under age 30, it's probably like 50% own crypto. But history shows pretty clearly it's people in their 20s and 30s that are driving all future change. Credit card spending shows their investment.
The 75% doesn't matter, in other words.
Yeah, or the 75% is going to flip to 75% own crypto. So Ethereum, number one, is where the stablecoin boom is taking place. 60% of it. So like this whole Genius Act, Besant says stablecoins are going to go from 250 billion to 4 trillion. That's an exponential demand growth for Ethereum.
They're replacing money market funds.
Correct. And it's dollarization and all that. Ethereum pays a 3% native yield if you stake it. So the 6.6 billion held of Ethereum is over $200 million in net income right now. The day we turn on staking, not only is there no debt on Bitminer, it's going to pay you $200 million a year in dividends.
ETH?
Well, it's called proof of stake. So Ethereum doesn't have a proof of work model where you're competing for a block reward. It's saying if you hold ETH and you agree to stake it and validate transactions, you earn the staking fee, which is 3%.
Okay. So that's where that's coming from.
Yeah. And then there's a power law force at work that if we get to 5% of Ethereum, we become a really benevolent staking entity. That's why we want to get to 5%. Yeah. So we're working with the Ethereum Foundation because we can explain to them what Wall Street's looking for. So keep in mind that the Genius Act and then SEC's Project Crypto is the recognition that using blockchain makes Wall Street faster and more efficient. I've seen it at Bitmine because like when we get the cash, the minute it touches the blockchain, it moves we have much better visibility and it's much easier to move, to actually track the money. The wallets are all tracked. And this is like 1971 because in 1971, the dollar went off the gold standard.
Yeah.
And everyone said, oh, I'll buy gold instead. But remember, the dollar suddenly became a fiat.
Yeah.
And Wall Street innovated because they said, now we have a dollar. Let's make sure we can move the dollars efficiently.
You don't need to move bars of gold to match the movement of the dollars.
Correct. So it created Wall Street, came out of that single act in 1971. So now, 2025, Project Crypto from the SEC and Genius Act is saying, Wall Street, take advantage of this new technology to make Wall Street a tech industry. But they're all choosing to do it, or the majority are choosing to do it on Ethereum. Ethereum is a smart contract platform and has what they call EVMs, Ethereum virtual machines. So you can do basically a lot of smart programs and contracts. That's where Robinhood is doing their stable coins, the tokenized products on top of Ethereum.
Bitcoin has roared back to life, breaking through $117,000 and sending shockwaves across the market. After weeks of uncertainty, the Federal Reserve sparked new momentum when Chair Jerome Powell hinted at an interest rate cut during his closing speech at the Jackson Hole Symposium. That single moment flipped market sentiment and pushed Bitcoin to an intraday high of $117,300, leaving traders scrambling. From a 6-week low of $111,600, BTC surged more than 4%, showing the kind of strength many thought had faded. The sudden spike didn't just excite bulls, it wiped out bears in dramatic fashion. Data from CoinGlass showed nearly $380 million in Bitcoin shorts liquidated, part of a staggering $629 million across crypto. Ethereum wasn't left behind either, soaring almost 15% to $4,760 and accounting for a huge chunk of those liquidations. Over 150,000 traders were caught on the wrong side of the move, and the Bitcoin liquidation heat map reviewed thick liquidity levels melting away above $117,000. For analysts, this was confirmation that the uptrend has returned. Michael Van de Poppe highlighted the sweep below $112,000 as a textbook accumulation zone just before the explosive rally began. Fellow analyst Jella suggested some retracement could follow, but both agreed the market is hungry for higher levels. Predictions are now heating up, with targets ranging from $145,000 to an eye-watering $200,000 before year's end. If momentum holds, Bitcoin could be on the verge of rewriting history with fresh all-time highs.
Yeah, there's two things to ensure the differentiation. One is you need to have liquidity in stock. Bitmine is the 10th most traded stock in the stock market.
That's crazy.
John, chart
Wow.
14, this is unbelievable.
Let me see this.
So you have the alchemy of 5%, Bitcoin miner or BMNR ranked number 10 by 5-day average daily volume. This is unfriggin' believable.
Your stock is trading more volume
Thank-
than Alphabet.
Broadcom, MicroStrategy.
Wow, you flipped strategy already. That's pretty impressive.
So nobody else can do this.
Correct. So that's liquidity, because institutions want liquidity. So they know that, Tom, we can buy 10 million shares of your stock, but we can get out if we lose. We're not stuck. We're not like a prison. The second is the velocity, because see, compared to an ETF, if you bought an Ethereum ETF on June 30th, you still only have $4 of ETH per share. We took your $4 and now it's $35. We're growing your ETH holdings. So it's different than owning a closed-end fund. We're actively growing your Ethereum. Correct. So it's actually Michael
It's not like
Saylor's.
the traditional secondary then.
Yeah, Michael Saylor's explained it like,
Don't say yield. Don't say yield.
no. He's saying he's selling, $1 worth of Bitcoin, but because of the multiple of the stock, he's buying $3 of Bitcoin with it. That's what his mechanism is. When you raise capital and then you're buying an asset instead of a building, you're actually improving your book value.
Okay.
And then Ethereum itself is only at, 4,000-ish. But if it flips, Ethereum has a lot of upside.
Are there other tokens out there that this idea makes sense for? Is that something that you guys are thinking about?
I think if something is useful, because Ethereum has this whole story of like Wall Street going onto the blockchain. That makes it more useful. But remember, the AI world, the agentic world, where when you have robots, you have to now know proof of human or proof that this is a valid instruction sent to the robot. They're going to have to build a token model, which is right now, most of that's happening on Ethereum. Okay. So the AI world, as they go to agentic, has to use tokens on a public chain, and it looks like a lot of it's going to happen on Ethereum.
Ethereum is powering forward with renewed strength as surging on-chain activity and a strong futures market push optimism toward a potential $5,000 breakout. In the last 30 days, Ethereum network transactions jumped 63%, while active addresses grew by 26%, signaling a sharp increase in real usage and investor participation. This rise in activity comes alongside Ether's rally to $4,716, its highest point in nearly 4 years, sparking $351 million in liquidations from bearish bets. Investor appetite for risk is clearly returning. The Nasdaq gained 1.8%, showing money flowing back into growth assets like ETH, while Powell's comments at Jackson Hole fueled expectations of interest rate cuts that could ease financial conditions further. Futures markets are echoing this bullish mood, with Ether futures open interest sitting at $69 billion and premiums rising to 7% from a bearish 4% earlier in the week. With robust demand, steady leverage, and booming network activity, Ethereum is building the momentum needed to test $5,000. A fresh all-time high might be closer than many expect. If you have been watching so far, thank you so much for watching. And do not forget to subscribe to Bitcoinzilla for daily news all for free. That's all for today's video. Until next time.